We'll be continuing our discussion on the 21st word from the fourth warning. So previously we've been discussing the first four warnings. Brother Bukan, you already have the mic. So would you like to give us an introduction of what it? If someone else wants to.
Yes. Oh, you want? No, yes. Oh, okay. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. We've been studying the question of, okay, prayer is good. We are all Muslims. We are praying. Prayer is good, but, isn't it too much to pray every day 5 times? And I see heads are nodding like, yes, isn't it? So it seems like too much, too many. So why do we have to pray? That was the question. And author explained it into like in multiple warnings. And so far we studied the 4 of them. We started with the 4th. So in the previous warnings, we first started discussing what prayer means for us. Why do we pray? We started from there. And then following text, we talk about the life being so short, not eternal, while we asking for eternal. And we discussed how this, the difference between what we want and what we have and what we imagine to have, because we imagine to have an eternal life on this world. So how we think about the shortness of the life, that praying all the time, actually, like not all the time, but praying that many times would make sense, we said. We also discussed how prayers also corresponds to different, the periods of our times, our lives. So there was a perfect wisdom in the number of prayers and so on. And then we studied how a human has some fundamental needs. And when it comes to fundamental needs, we never complain. How many times I drink water, how many times, I eat, especially like a very basic eating. It's not like a luxury eating. He was talking about bread. And in Turkish culture, bread is like the bare minimum food that you have. In some cultures, people don't eat bread, but anyway. So when it comes to fundamental needs, we don't question. And every time we eat, we also have pleasure. So author was discussing that the prayer is actually another fundamental need of your heart, your spirit. And we discussed within our circle if this is the case or not for us, and what author means when he says the prayer is a fundamental need beyond just fiqh rules. And then I guess we also discussed how we have this issue of carrying the burden of the past times on our shoulders rather than taking them as our allies, and also trying to, again, shoulder the burden of the future times, although they are not there yet. So if we spend our patience in just for today, in this moment, when I pray now, my patience is enough for that. Like when I pray, it's just how many minutes? Not even 10 minutes, right? So I have patience for 10 minutes. But when I think about all the prayers that I prayed so far, it sounds like, I'm carrying something on my shoulders. And author saying that this is silly because your older prayers are with you, supporting you now. They are good deeds that you benefit their rewards. So you shouldn't carry them as burdens. You should take them as I don't want to say pride, but take them as your ally, let's say. And then with the fourth, I guess we started with fourth, if I'm not mistaken, last week. And we talked how the prayer, it comes with a reward, with a payment, let's say, within the prayer itself and in the future times as well. And we were discussing different type of rewards. So let me remind, the author was talking about the rewards in the moment, rewards in the grave, rewards in the during the resurrection, and reward in the breach of Srat, and so on. So we haven't studied these different type of rewards. We only talked about the breach of Srat a little bit last week, but maybe we can continue from there.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can read the fourth warning again and then continue it. So does anyone want to read? Oh, Dua, Sister Dua.
What are we reading?
Fourth warning again.
O my foolish soul, is this duty of worship without result? And is its recompense little that it causes you weariness? Whereas if someone was to give you a little money or to intimidate you, he could make you work till evening, and you would work without slacking. So is it that the prescribed prayers are without result, which in this guest house of the world are sustenance and wealth for your impotent and weak heart? And in your grave, which will be a certain dwelling place for you, sustenance and light, and at the resurrection, when you will anyway be judged, a document and patent, and on the bridge of Sirat, over which you are bound to pass, a light and a mount? Are their recompense little? Someone promises you a present worth 100 liras, and makes you work for 100 days. You trust the man who may go back on his word and work without slacking. So if one for whom the breaking of a promise is impossible promises you recompense like paradise and a gift like eternal happiness, and employs you for a very short time in a very agreeable duty, if you do not perform that service, or you act accusingly towards his promise, or slight his gift by performing it unwillingly, like someone forced to work, or by being bored, or by working in a half-hearted fashion, you will deserve a severe reprimand and awesome punishment. Have you not thought of this? Although you serve without flagging in the heaviest work in this world out of fear of imprisonment, does the fear of an eternal incarceration like hell not fill you with enthusiasm for a truly light and agreeable act of service?
Thank you.
Mhm.
So does anyone have any questions, like further questions, comments? Dua, Brother Abdurrahman.
I guess, I mean, it's called a warning, so I suppose it should be a little bit not nice, but I mean, the way Nursi kind of writes it here, if someone was to come and tell you like they're going to threaten you, they're going to kill you if you don't work this hard, okay, I can see maybe out of fear you might work a little bit, but it doesn't seem like a kind of motivation or encouragement that you really necessarily put forth. At least it's not the first. I mean, I wouldn't say it's even like the fourth one. It might be like the 10th one or something. Like it's not like if someone is coming in threatening, if it's a human, then they're doing an injustice anyways. And they're saying, oh, if you don't do this, then we do this. It's kind of bullying you into it. Like I'm trying to see the way he writes it. It kind of sees like maybe he's making a comparison, so that's why it's different. But it kind of seems like there's a sort of bullying aspect in here, which I'm assuming that's not what he's really trying to say. So my question is, yeah, why does he even try to write something like this, because personally I don't find it very encouraging. It doesn't speak much to me.
I guess just to follow up with that. So is the question is, why is there no third option, which is just let me be? Like, because the author is comparing, there is benefit of doing the prayer. And if you don't do it, you're going to be reprimanded.
He says you deserve to be reprimanded.
Yeah, so you deserve to be reprimanded.
Awesome punishment.
And also punishment. So why there is no third option? Just let me be. Like, I don't want your reward, but I don't want your punishment either. Just, I mean, I'm not interested in this business, sort of an attitude, right?
Maybe.
No, I wanted to put a third option in there. So just trying to understand. Okay, I mean, if you don't like being reprimanded, is it that you're okay with the reward, or you even say, well, I mean, no reward, no nothing, just let me be. I guess this is another way to take it.
Brother Birkan.
Because we always give examples about children, now I will change it. So let's assume I'm eating too much sugar, like a candy. As a grown man, inshallah, I have this fear in me that my teeth will be decaying. So it's with me already. Somebody can argue that this sugar, like a candy, is so sweet, so I can eat as much as I want. I have this free will. But the fear is there as well. And if Yusuf comes and tells me, oh, brother, Birkan, you're eating too much candy. Stop, consuming all these lollipops. You don't even, leave me anything, he says. Otherwise, your teeth will be no more. So I wouldn't take it as, he's bullying me. The fear is already there. I know that this is true. And he says, if you continue eating this, you deserve these decaying teeth. I say, yes, you are right. At most, I would say, don't, ruin my pleasure. And this is usually what prophets are responded with. But I don't know, at least to me, I wouldn't take it as bullying. Because I already know that this is true, and it's just warning me. Can he warn me with, another attitude saying that, oh, Birkan, let's keep your teeth healthier. Why don't we, eat healthy products? I will bring you, a healthier candy-like something and so on. Would it work in the same way? I would find it funny. I mean, forget about taking it as a warning. I would just make fun of him. But when he comes with a truth that has a, inner, the root, like it's with me, that works for me. I wouldn't, want him to be sugarcoating anything because sugar is, harming my teeth. Of course, the question is, whether when he says deserve, like you deserve this, am I have the same response in me that saying that, oh, yes, that's true. Just like, the heat and sugar. May I send my slide?
So I might have mentioned this before, but since it has a big impact on me this summer, 2 of my students cheated so outrageously. And then at the end, so when I say, well, you did wrong, and here is how similar the two are and whatnot. So what shall I do? I ask them,
And he says, he initially said that it's not cheating and whatnot. I said, well, this is cheating. You're submitting somebody else's work as yours. This is what cheating is. Like, this is the dictionary definition. So I said, okay, then give me 0 from that assignment. I said, if you didn't submit it, you will get 0 anyways. Like, you didn't learn anything. So this has to be a learning experience for you. So you were supposed to be learning how to do programming. You didn't do it. But on top of that, you did something wrong, submitting somebody else's work as yours. So I cannot let this go. You have to learn so that you don't repeat it. So you will get 0. That's granted. But on top of that, I have to lower your letter grade. Then I was the worst person on earth. Like, when the professor reviews come, all the reviews are good for me. There are 2 1s out of 5. So those students were so mad about me. So like, from that student's perspective, still, like, I bullied him, or I was just trying to crush him. Even in the reviews, he says be fair or something like this, like a matter of fairness, because I am punishing the person, which although I shouldn't. So it looks like the problem was with definition of what it means to be a student for that student. Because and at the beginning of this term, since hopefully I got my lesson. So in the first 20 minutes of the first lecture, I showed the syllabus. And when it comes to the cheat, well, first I said that, okay, if you do this, you're going to get this grade. I'm going to give you A+, A*. Just do well, and I'm all supporting you. And these are the benefits of doing these assignments and whatnot. I say, it's hard, I know, but it's very useful for you. Then comes the cheating portion. I say, if you do it, I'm going to come after you. Like, I'm threatening them, but none of them, like, it's the beginning of term. Nobody did any cheating, no assignment yet, but I'm threatening them without anything happening. So one could even say that, well, like, you're just accusing me. I didn't do anything. I'm a good person. I'm not even going to do that. But I know somebody will do it. And this aspect is at everyone. And especially I tell them, nobody is doing cheating out of the blue. It most of the time happens if you keep postponing it to the last minute, and then you find yourself while cheating. Like, I mean, there might be a few people who take cheating as their lifestyle, but this is very, very minority. But the real thing is, if you keep postponing, last minute, you make this horrible decision of cheating. So I say, don't do that. Once you get there, you will do it. I know, because I did. I mean, it is not recorded, right? So this is human. So I guess in this sense, for a human, especially if you are teaching, let's say, university teaching humans, you know that humans do cheat under stress, and humans might have a crooked understanding of what it means to be a student. So you said that, look, here are the benefits, but here are, if you mess up, this is what's going to happen. Student can say, if now I take it to my initial comment after yours, student can say that, well, I don't want to be a student. I don't want to get an A. I don't want to get an F either. Just let me out. Then we would say, cool, drop out of the school. You would then say, well, I found myself in this school as a human. And there's no middle, like, there's no dropout of that school. What am I going to do? Then becomes the question. So I guess this is why the proper question in this case would be, am I happy being a student or a creation in this existing format? I need to check that. If I'm happy with being a student, but like being a student meaning, again, going with the student analogy, I enjoy the campus, college experience portion. But when it comes to classes and assignment, this is the part that I don't like. I would say, oh, like, this comes together. Like, this is how it is. You cannot just take half and remove the other half. And also, as a human, if to my conscious qualities as a human, if properly addressed, human is meant to enjoy being a student in this existence. Not literal student, but student of Iqra, right? Read in the name of the Lord who created. We are meant to, or we are created in a way that we can enjoy it. But I guess the part that now looks to me and each of us, how can we unearth this aspect of ourselves, because especially in this society nowadays, humans are just joy consuming animals. This is what we ended up being, rather than being a student who learns and reads in the name of the creator. So I should, and I do see the same thing in myself, how can I recondition myself so that I'm going to become a proper student of the creator? I guess if this and this is what that chapter is trying to do, saying that if you were a proper human, you would be perfectly fine with that, because going with student analogy, a student would say, yeah, it makes perfect sense. If you do well, you get an A. If you cheat, you get an F. Perfect. But if somebody says, no, I don't want to be a student, then that person can rightfully disagree, because his understanding of studentship is wrong, first of all. So something is wrong with that person. But then how can we fix that?
At the very beginning, to add what Yusuf said, it starts with duty of worship, wazife ubudiyat. So this is the framework. Within the framework of ubudiyah, like being abd, being a worshipper, this is what you receive and this is what you deserve. Kind of. And like, just to be honest, like when I look at my past, for instance, sometimes I get angry with my father, with my mother and so on, because they didn't warn me about certain things, because they didn't taught me about certain things. Like I kind of like say that, that was your duty and you didn't do it properly. I'm sure everybody has, the similar feelings against towards some other people as well. And we have some narrations mentioning that a child, for instance, complaining about father for not teaching him X or Y or Z during the resurrection. And then father being asked, didn't you teach him? Didn't you warn him? And so on. So at least to me, this is what I need. I want people to warn me when needed. Otherwise, it's like they're failing their duty. And when it comes to people, it's this way. When it comes to my creator, I expect him to, warn me in a really, substantial way. One of the name of the creator being Jabbar, like doing something forceful, right? Not in a bad way, but sometimes you need to, to correct something, even if there's a friction. And this is, I'm so grateful. Prophet used to pray, like between his sajdas, for instance, with this name, or the creator or Jabbar, correct me in my life. This is what I need in, as a human being. Warning.
Jazakallah khair. Does anyone have any other questions? Because I have one. So, and here he says, by being bored or by working in half-hearted fashion, you will deserve a severe reprimand and awesome punishment. So my question here is, for example, like we discussed in the previous week, Brother Abdurrahman mentioned it as well, like you just take it as a command or you just pray because you were told to pray. So what about those prayers that you did half-heartedly, or like, for example, you were not happy with your life or you're not happy with how you think the creator is doing things for you and you still pray? So are those prayers not counting? Like you won't get the reward for those? So this is like my question. Mr. Zanin.
Yeah, I guess I was also kind of had the same question. I don't really think I have an answer for it, but it's like it reminds me of some of like the videos I see where a sheikh is like, well, no matter what happens in your life, like the very least you can do is like hold on to your prayer, because that's really important. And it's like if I'm going through something like challenging, or if I don't like really feel like my heart is in my prayers, like according to maybe some people that, as long as you're doing it, like that's okay, that's all you need. But here it's like you need to put in 100 like percent into every prayer, which makes sense like in my head. Or I guess like when it says by working in half-hearted fashion, that would imply yeah. So if you are working in a half-hearted fashion, then that would imply that you aren't like 100% like focused on your prayers, at least in my opinion. So yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, add that I agree with that sort of that sentiment. Like, but I guess in the same vein, like how we were talking about how all of our past prayers have acted as a support. I think even those prayers where we may think that, our heart wasn't completely in it, even those I think serve as like building blocks to like keep, because I think the act of like praying again is continuously teaching you how to be like a student like of the in this creation, like without I guess, how should I put it, because we do tend to like forget, we are forgetful in many like situations. So I guess the discipline I think is still important, even though like realistically, I may not be experience, I guess, the full like sweetness of prayer all the time. Although I guess I shouldn't fall into the mindset I shouldn't fall into the mindset of being complacent, I guess. That's what I think.
I agree with those questions, but also isn't it also important to pray when you're unwilling to pray? Because it's like if you're always willing to pray and Allah's will is also that you pray, then it's like you don't have that sentiment of, oh, I'm carrying out Allah's will even though it is hard for me, or even though I'm finding it hard to. But it's like when you're unwilling to pray, like for example when it's difficult to get up for Fajr and you still do it, there is that element of, oh, I don't really want to do this, but I am still going to do it because I realize that I don't own my body, and I have to be a better abd. So there is that sentiment of it. So isn't it in fact kind of like important and also very teaching for us to have our will like not aligned with Allah's?
Brother Yusuf.
I think it is. I mean, these points are good. That's right. Because practically sometimes, because I'm lazy or this or that, at least the way also the author says, it's to perform the prayer is better than not doing it at this moment. But the point that's being mainly focused in here is, what is it that makes me perform it half-heartedly? So what is behind, what's under the hood is what the author is talking about in here. And he says, if you do not perform that service, or you act accusingly toward his promise or slight his gifts, like he is providing this promise, the gift is there, the outcomes of the prayer is there. Let's take it this way. You are being paid, like as he's giving the example, in a company, and they say that, oh, do this work and I'm going to pay you that much. And you are just going late to work, you are getting bored. During the meeting, you say, "Pfft," and whatnot. So they would say, well, you're going to get paid 12, 15, $30,000. Is this not sufficient? What do you mean? Like, is it you're accusing me that we are not going to pay you back? Like, what is that behavior? What is the translation of that behavior? So as if the author is saying that by you getting bored, you are accusing the creator by saying that what you're giving me back is either you're not going to give it back to me or I'm not satisfied with it. Your status is sounding like this. So this is why in this warning, the author is saying that wake up. Either you are not aware what is the outcome of that prayer, or else if you are aware and doing it, you are accusing the one who is going to give it to you. And this is the part I guess we can discuss further as he's claiming. Let's take it as a claim for now. He says this, it's a sustenance and wealth for your impotent and weak heart right now. The prayer is a sustenance for your weak heart. And he says in the grave, in the resurrection, in the bridge. So these are seeming to be the proposed payments that I'm going to receive. So the author says, by performing half-heartedly, you're accusing that, oh, you're not going to give it to me. I know. You're just making me work and then you will escape. So this is the part, I guess, that's being mentioned. So since it's a warning, let's see if they are really the case. I mean, if this is really the case, if prayer is going to strengthen my heart, it's going to become a like sustenance in my grave, that's good. But what are these? Like, do you really believe that prayer is going to be a sustenance for your grave? Maybe we don't even know what that means. This is why I don't see that benefit of prayer in the first place. If I were to see it, like for instance, every month, my university is taking some money out of my paycheck, saying that we are going to give it back to you once you retire, 20, 30 years later. But I have a hope that I will live that long. And after I retire, I'm going to take this money back. And I do see some benefit in there. This is why I say, okay, take away that money, right? 30 years later, my creator, or is this what it is saying? You're going to get into grave, right? I'm going to make you some payment in grave. Is this what it is saying? Or can I understand it as such? If I do see it as such, definitely all our ancestors now are in grave, like guaranteed. I will go there no matter what. Probably, maybe I'm not going to pick up my retirement payment, but 100% sure I will get to the grave. So how can I invest to the grave? Or what does that even mean? At least it looks like I'm not concerned about it. This is why I am performing prayer half-heartedly. So we can also discuss about that. Is prayer really sustenance for the grave?
Yeah, another thing is like similar to this warning, I don't know if you remember the ayah in Surah Al-Ma'un, I guess. So it says, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. So in this ayah, like, so basically God is warning those who pray. So it's not like he's warning the ones who don't pray, but he's warning those who pray, but they pray, if we say sahun, it could be something like half-heartedly. And in the tafsir, it's basically those who pray, but like sometimes or a lot of the times they delay their prayers, or they, as you said, like go to prayers unwillingly. And why is it wailun? Why is there like a severe punishment for these? Because so if you claim to be, because there is like a sense of hypocrisy in this. So if you claim you're a Muslim and you're a believer and you're like a abd, so you're submitted already, but like basically refusing or delaying your prayers is kind of contradicting with this, because if you're delaying your prayers or you're praying half-heartedly, it's like you're actually not believing that, what you claim to believe, that, you're submitted to one God, he's your creator and he's your sustainer and he owns your time and your body and all of that. So I think like this is where like why there's a warning for like taking like prayers like kind of lightly or like doing it half-heartedly, because like it reflects this aspect of being like not a true believer, or not a true not true in your submission, let's say, I think.
Any comments, questions further? It's fine.
Assalamualaikum. I was looking at the paragraph that Brother Yusuf also just mentioned of, so is it that the prescribed prayers are without result, which in this guest house of the world are sustenance and wealth for your impotent and weak heart, and in your grave, which will be a certain dwelling place for you, sustenance and light. And I was thinking about, I guess, in what ways can prayer be sustenance and wealth for my heart? Do I see my heart as impotent, as weak? Do I see myself as being situated in a guest house? Because I find that, for when it comes to what I need to do and when it comes to working for my advisor, I can sit and work for 8 hours easily. Or you can go to a lab and work for 8 hours, right? More, I'm sure. And there's a difficulty in that. And then there's also sometimes a sweetness of that, because you know what it's pointing to. You're situated in a school, you're being educated, and that education or that time and effort that you put into it is meant in some way as sustenance for your sort of trajectory, for your wealth of knowledge. So I guess, and I think Zareen pointed this out, that when I come to prayer, regardless of whether I come to it in full focus and concentration or just to do it because it's commanded, it relocates me in my reality, right? It relocates me as, who am I? Where am I? And that where am I is, I'm in this arena of education. I'm in this guest house. I'm in this university of the cosmos, right? Creational universe. And prayer becomes a reminder of that. But yeah, just also thinking about, how do I experience the sustenance of it for the needs that I have, or the sort of the neediness that I have in my life.
Jazakallah.
So about so we discussed the last few weeks how the reward with the prayer is in the prayer itself for this world, and then hereafter. I guess this is a very important part, the aspect, and it should be highlighted, repeated maybe every week, that, as author says, the prayer is first, not maybe foremost, but first, the reward of the prayer comes in this world. And how it happens, I think it situate you, like locate you in this world in a very special point when you look around you you see meaning there, you see purpose there. And the prayer is your like a training arena. Through prayer, like you come to certain conclusions, you go through certain experiences in life, and you have a relationship with your creator. And then when it comes to responding back to your creator, you start praying. And then this prayer becomes a means of knowing your creator more and more. And at the same time, knowing yourself more and more. At the same time, knowing what's going on around you more and more. So when you go through this prayer, it's like, what is it called? There are these heavy trainings, like they squeeze, what is it? Boot camps. Yes. It's like a boot camp, right? You can take this, the training elsewhere, maybe slowly, but when you attend the boot camp, you become an expert on it in a very short time. And then imagine that you're repeating it again and again. Now your worldview is so solid now that nothing can, break you. If you're, of course, praying in a way that, it's word. So the first reward is about, this life, how you see this life, how you make sense of it. And then I guess comes the next thing is this life getting better is good, but it will end. So there's no point of making something, beautiful if you know that as soon as you make it beautiful, it will disappear. So you spend all your time, the cooking, you put all the spices, everything in place, with a certain amount and so on. And the moment you finish cooking without even showing to anyone else or to tasting it, it just disappears. You wouldn't cook it. So the same thing, we try to, beautify our lives, but the moment we take a step back and look at our lives, whether it is beautiful or not, meaningful or not, we find ourselves, getting old and going to grave. So I need something also to illuminate my grave, because grave means darkness for me, because I don't know what happens after that, right? I mean, literally it's dark, but also, maybe the more important that I don't know what will happen there. What will happen after that? And I'm not talking about, whether I'm going to hell or heaven. I don't even know what happens. Like whether I disappear, become non-existent, or whether there's really the resurrection or not. I have all these doubts. So it's so dark for me. And I need light there, something to illuminate my grave. And when I pray in the name of the one who will resurrect us. Yeah. Right? One meaning, at least, of Malik al-Yawmiddin is, as I repeat saying it, I say that, yes, there is a resurrection. We can think about it. Look at the life, look at the creation, look at all the experiences you've been through. Right? This is the repeating of the Fatiha. Fatiha is an opening, right? The literal meaning. So you make the accounting of your past life moments. You judge them, you weigh them, you try to make sense of them in the name of the Creator. And then you open a new life. This is Fatiha. And imagine you repeat it all the time, like 5 times in a day. Now you are sure, you are certain that the one who created this universe, who created me, who created all these needs in me, he will give eternal life for me. He will resurrect me. Now my grave is illuminated. So the prayer, this way, I guess we can apply it to other parts as well. So let's talk about the resurrection, and then he talks about the breach of Sirat. Somebody else can talk about them. But it's definitely a light for my grave. My grave is illuminated with my prayer.
I was thinking of this.
Since people in here are professional students, like prayer illuminating grave, let's say, right? So there are things that students hate, such as taking an exam. Like there is no student who says, "Oh, I love exams. It's my favorite part of being a student." So, I mean, other than some nerds. So, like there's this certain darknesses which is repulsive for students. But if I say, oh, attending office hours will enlighten exams for you. Because students don't like coming to office hours also, because office hours is extra. Like, okay, I understand lectures, it's mandatory, I come there, but office hours, come on. But if I say coming to office hours enlightens your grave or your exam, meaning it will first help for your exam because you will understand the content better, but also if you come to office hours, you will become a better student, meaning you will start learning. You're not memorizing anymore. You are starting to make sense of the education and the lecture content. And then you will start seeing exam as another learning opportunity. It's not a dark and despicable thing for you anymore. Its meaning has changed. For you, before it was where the professor takes revenge from the student. Now it becomes another tool for you where you will make mistakes maybe, but even making mistakes will be good because from your mistakes you will learn what could have been the right answer. Same thing now applies to me. To me, death or separation in general is a meaningless and despicable thing. Like I like being together with friends. I don't like getting separated from friends. What is the point of separation? What is the point of death? It's something that I hate. But with the training that I go through, with the prayer, death becomes meaningful. Actually, death becomes my best teacher as a human. Because through death, I realize that he is the creator, he is the provider. And like the example for that, which we discussed when we were studying 20th letter, on a river, you do see those bubbles shining, like sunlight is being shining there. When a bubble just explodes, the sunshine disappears there. So it's death. And if you love the shining of sun, that death is disturbing for you. But in fact, this death, this exploding bubble is good because it will make you raise your head and look at the real sun. So that death is a wake-up call to say that don't get stuck in the temporary existence. It is coming from an eternal source. The temporariness is making you upset, that's right. But actually the death itself is so that everything points to him. Through prayer, I get to see this aspect because prayer means now I am becoming a conscious worshiper. I start seeing purpose in life. Then I seek purpose in death as well. What is your purpose? Death. Why everything is dying? Every moment is dying. Or death is to make everything directly connecting to him rather than making a causal chain between things. death of everything says, I come from him. So this is why through the training that I go with, in general, death becomes meaningful. Not only my eventual death and going to grave, but the death itself becomes meaningful, and you do start loving death. You are not hating death anymore, because death is not the old death that you think it was. It's not dark anymore. It's a meaningful. Then the student will start liking the exam, because it's not the same exam that I once thought about, the professor taking revenge. Now it's something likable, actually useful for me.
Okay. Does anyone have more questions on this? If someone could go with, like, as we were discussing in Quran class at Drexel as well on Friday, the difference between the fear and the love of any command. That is, like, here in the end it says, does the fear of an internal incarceration like hell not fill you with the enthusiasm for a truly light and agreeable act of service? So is fear a good motivating factor? Because, like, from what I've seen in life, like, if you're fearful of something, you'll most likely don't end up doing it that good, like you would say, not willingly. But if you love doing something, you would do it more willingly, with more enthusiasm and everything. But the writer here is saying that if you have that fear, you'll have all the enthusiasm in the world. So if someone could touch upon that.
I agree with that question. And also, like, I feel like I can't relate to this, to the fourth warning in an effective manner, because to me, like, like if somebody like forces me to work and they offer me like 400,000,
this company, I will still keep, giving you money and so on and so forth. And I assume you would work or like a whole heart, like willingly, I assume. And he says this, and then he says, this is the situation. But if you come to work with all these things, with like a given to you, unwillingly, you deserve to be fired. So I will, fire you. If he says something like that, like from the beginning to end, would you take it as, wait a second, why this employer is threatening me? Would you take it that way, or would you say, yeah, of course? That was my question.
That actually reminds me of when I first started working. And it was like the first time I was earning money. And that actually, like I felt excited to go into work. And that was probably the only time I was willing to work. So I think my answer to that is if I get something new at work every time and something new that I desire, then I would be like, yes, sure. But if it's the same thing again and again, then I would get bored. So then I think maybe, and I do think that when you pray, because it's like we say Fatiha every time, but I do think there are new meanings and new things that we learn every single time when we say Fatiha. So then I think we need to sort of recalibrate ourselves from what we're achieving out of namaz. And it doesn't, but then again, this paragraph, the problem that I have is that it's not it's talking about I feel like it's that attitude that parents have that, do this or you'll go to hell.
That's exactly why I started with all these rewards. And forget about namaz, forget about prayer for now.
Mm-hmm.
Like your employer mentions all these rewards.
Mm-hmm.
First, he mentions all these rewards. And then he says, every time I will give you something new.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And every time I will give you something you desire. He explains all these. And at the end,
Mm-hmm.
he says, but if you come work unwillingly,
Mm-hmm.
I will fire you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think such an explanation is about firing you or about the rewards? It's about the rewards, right? And this is exactly how text goes. This text we read, he spent 80% of the text
Mm-hmm.
with all these rewards. And then he says, with these in mind, if you do it unwillingly,
Mm-hmm.
you will be fired. But for some reason, I'm not accusing anyone. This is me as well. I guess this is about our psychology. We read this text and we just stuck to the end where the employer says, but if you come unwillingly, I will fire you.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was talking about rewards. He was not talking about punishment. The text is about the rewards. And the punishment is, when you read it carefully, it's about what you are missing.
Mm-hmm.
Punishment is not something external. It's like, if you work, you get this.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't work, you're depriving yourself from this. This is the punishment. So again, I'm not accusing anyone, and I'm not giving an answer to this punishment and whatever. But what I'm saying is, even when somebody talks about all these rewards,
Yeah.
and then says, if you don't do it, you will miss all these things, we take it as, wait a second, who do you think you are to threaten me? It's not threatening, at least to me.
Sorry, I just want to clear this up. Wouldn't that mean that the person is doing because the love of the reward and not because he thinks that the work needs to be done, or Allah is my creator, so he deserves to be worshipped. I should worship him. He deserves that. He's not doing that. He's doing it for the love of the reward, like the end goal.
I would say we can discuss this for sure, but this part of the text is at least about the reward.
It's here's how I'm taking it. It's so Nursi first talked about the needs, right? And it's namaz has a lot of benefits. So namaz in and of itself is a benefit, but then there is this additional benefit of, it will help you in your grave. So it's Nursi's listing all those things. But all I'm saying is, to me, I relate much more, or to me, the namaz being a need, or namaz in and of itself being enough, makes a lot more sense than presenting an incentive for namaz. Does that make sense? It's when you present an incentive for something, it's oh, is that thing in itself not enough?
but then there's like, oh, like Allah has given you this additional like motivation as a reward or whatever.
No, I was just thinking, I don't think the things that you two are saying are mutually exclusive, right? I think Nursi in this fourth section or fourth warning, he's building off of everything else that he's said so far. So he's furthering the idea that this is something that has an intrinsic reward. And in fact, the rewards that are being given are aspects of that. So it makes me think of, this is like an example given in some texts. If you're teaching a child how to read and you give them candy, they think, oh, every time I sit and do this, the reward is the candy. But as they grow and continue to read, they realize that the reading itself is the reward. Oh, now they can enjoy the pleasure of reading. The candy was just a sort of something that helps them come to that point of realization, right? So in a very similar way, I think he starts this section off by contrasting it by saying, when someone actually intimidates you, you act upon that intimidation, you get scared and you work. But this is not that sort of intimidation, right? That this isn't like some mafia holding a gun to my head and saying, if you don't do this, we're going to blow your brains out. And he ends the section by saying, would this not fill you with enthusiasm? And I thought that was interesting as well. So similar to the examples that we've given in previous weeks, like if there's a pill that I need to take every day to stay alive, the threat is intrinsic. I take it not because someone's holding a gun to my head, but because I know that if I don't, there's the threat of me missing out on something that is essential for myself. So I think, and the reward again is part of it. So I think how we understand reward, it can be both intrinsic and extrinsic. Maybe those categories aren't always very useful either. But here I think the point that he's trying to bring is that once you recognize how it enriches your life and your needs and what they point to, then it should fill you with enthusiasm. So those, I don't know if that was helpful, but those are my thoughts.
Brother Yusuf.
And I think it also makes sense to think about what is the threat of hell? What's its reality? Because Quran is truly threatening with hell. So there's this aspect, and the imagery is scary. So clearly speaking to an aspect of human psychology, which is saying that, look, if you don't do it properly, this is what is awaiting you. But I think if we read Quran as it is describing me, my reality, I mean, again, in the sense that I'm expected to bear witness to Quran. Bearing witness means you can relate to it, not only relate to it, you taste it, you know what it is, and you say, yes, I know this is the case. So when Quran talks about this threatening of hell, somehow I should be able to say that I exactly know what you're talking about. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, once we get there, we will see whether it is there or not. Because this is not bearing witness. Like after I die, I will see whether it is there or not. So in here, the author is saying that there's a threatening of hell. Like if, think about it, you're talking about the parents, threatens a lot, but never does what he or she threatens. And the child always goes against. Mom says, if you do it again, I'm going to do this and this and this. Child says, okay, I'm not doing it, by just looking inside the eye of the mother. I'm not doing it, hit me. And then again, the mother does not hit. So for this child, can the child bear witness to whatever is the threat? Child would say there's no such threat at all. I mean, you're just bluffing the whole time. But I mean, the child cannot bear witness to, the only thing child can bear witness in this case is my father or mother is bluffing the whole time. So no need to worry about anything, right? But if when the creator threatens me, saying that if you don't do this, I'm going to put you into hell, I should check myself. For the times that I do not do prayer, am I being put into hell? Read it from reverse. For the moments of my life that I am displeased with, which is like, oh, that year was a hellish year, man. Sometimes we say, right? So you live a period of your life which really felt as if you were in hell or somewhere near hell because the temperature was too high, metaphorically speaking. What made me live this? What made me go through that? So yes, the creator makes me live hell in this lifetime to time because of my ignorances, because hell is not being able to see the purpose and meaning. As my student, a very hard exam could be a hell for a student or could be a joy for a student. If the student learns from that very hard exam or assignment, they would enjoy that assignment. But for the students for whom they don't get anything from that assignment, it's a total waste of time. It's hell. For a human, this is hell. So threatening with hell in this case is just talking about my reality. So you know what, like exactly I can do this to my student. If you don't pay attention to this class, and actually I do say this class is going to be your hell. There's going to be a lot of assignments. It's going to be very important for your future. You're going to have a horrible time for this 3 months as you're going through this class. And even if you just barely pass this class, you're going to be having super hard time in the rest of your courses. I threaten them. And this is the reality, actually. I'm not threatening them to just, I don't know, intimidate them. This is what the reality that they will face. So they better put effort into my course so that they will pass the course, but also, I mean, the point is not to make me happy. They will use that information in the next course. So if you don't want to burn, you better do this because it's going to be very useful for you.
I need some help with this, so I need some people, sharing their the enjoyments. So, like, is there anything that you do, for instance, just for the sake of like a think itself? Can you give me an example?
For what?
Like you do it because you do it just for the thing itself. There is no external or extra reward. Like you do it because you like doing it. Okay, let's go. You like sleeping, and you like it. Why?
It's enjoyable.
So there is a joy, right? Yeah.
But I think it's hard to find something intrinsically without joy, right? You wouldn't do it.
That's the thing. Yeah. It's like, so the sleeping, the definition of the sleeping is closing your eyes and just become unconscious. That's the sleeping.
Yeah.
And you don't, sorry? Oh, I thought somebody said something. No, I thought somebody said something I didn't want to miss. So that's the definition of sleeping. And you're not doing it for that one. Like you're not doing sleeping because they're closing your eyes and becoming unconscious. You like it. No. You like whatever happening during the sleep. So you like the reward.
Absolutely.
Because the reward is given when you sleep, which is getting relaxed, all these chemicals working in your body, your brain being, cleaned out and so on. You sleep for that reason. So if Abdullah was here, for instance, he would say, I play soccer because just I like soccer. Then I would say, okay, then just, random movements with your legs, which is the same thing with the soccer. And it would say, no. There must be a competition. There must be a joy when I, goal. and so on, because he does it for reward. Yeah, polo, boxing, bungee jumping, all, the fancy sports. There's always a reward in everything we do. Because this is the creation. The creation is made out of love. Meaning everything you do, you will see an instance of love in it. And that's the reason you do them. Like everything you do something, there's a payment. You eat, for instance. You don't eat because, for the sake of eating. Because eating means taking a food and putting it in your mouth. You don't do it for that reason. You do it for the taste, which is reward. You do it for the, the digestion and the energy and whatever, which is reward. So there is always an intrinsic reward in everything, in every action. The author gives example of, for instance, was it like a horse running? Or is it like anyway, horse, for instance, runs not because he just programmed to run, because there's a joy for him. So when we talk about reward, we sometimes, play this game of being pious. Oh, no, I don't do it for a reward. No, you do. As a human being, you do everything for a reward. There's nothing to be ashamed of. This is how our Lord has created us. This is how we know him. Without reward, how I would know that he's the most loving one? The love means the enjoyment that I get out of things. I taste his love. That's the reason I enjoy food. First, I think I enjoy the taste of the food. Then I'm an animal, but still there is a reward. Even if you are an animal, he gives you reward. But then you become an abd and you start tasting the rizq, the taste, the fact that he gives you. And it tastes something. And you do it for that reason. And even when we say, I do it for the sake of God, because he deserves, if you are taking from a human perspective, there's always a joy in it. You do it for the love of God. And the love is something enjoyable. Otherwise, you become like a rock. I stand there because for the sake of God, meaning rock doesn't have any other option anyway. That's what rock does. Stands there for the sake of God without any pleasure, let's say from our perspective. But I'm sure, 100% sure, even rock gets a pleasure out of it. Because everything I do, even standing, I get pleasure. So reward is always there, and we strive for reward. It's not the same thing. Like our society today talks about you have to accumulate wealth, you have to, chase for other pleasures and so on. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about this genuine, sincere, and intrinsic pleasures, loves that we are after. And this is human being.
Not sugar.
Not sugar. Yeah. So anyway, like a reward and chasing for reward, not in the way that society teaches us, but just to satisfy our most fundamental desire of being loved. This is how food will satisfy this. You eat food and then realize that he gives me this food. And you say, I'm loved, and it satisfies you. Otherwise, it's just, a few seconds of pleasure out of the taste. But think about a perfect cook. Your mom. He prepares a meal for you, but not a special, like a regular meal. She brings every ingredient from a different country. Like he finds the best I don't know, olive from the country that it is, best, Palestine, and then goes to India for certain spices, and then goes to, I don't know, Italy for pasta. It goes to somewhere else, and then goes to sun, right? Bring something else from there and prepare it for you. And then I tell you as a Warner, not your mom, but I tell you as a Warner, Sarah, you should respect this food. Otherwise, you deserve punishment. What it means, it's not like somebody comes and, hit you. It's like you deserve losing love of your mom. And this is what we have in this life. Every food you eat, like just one olive, imagine how it is being created in front of you. Some ingredients comes from sun. Some others come from, the center of the earth. Some other ingredients comes from across the ocean. Just for the one olive. And I tell you, if you don't deserve, if you don't respect it, you deserve punishment. You deserve losing love. Because if you don't respect it, you will not see love. And you deprive yourself from the love. This is the punishment. Nothing is external. The God is not telling us, as Yusuf said, the hell is not something that, other than what you do. If you don't see olive as given to you from your sustainer, you don't have love of sustenance in your life. This is your hell. And you will be burning, saying that nobody loves me. And the next moment is the suicide. This is the hell. And it's not something, somebody comes and burns you. Because you choose not to see the love. You choose not to see that somebody loves you and start complaining, nobody loves me. This is your punishment.
And then very briefly, if I'm going to then tie it back to what Dua was saying. So by intrinsic, would that word work? Let's say I'm not a fan of that word, but I'll use it. There's an organic relationship between misdeed and its punishment. What I mean by that is, let's say, if you don't study for a class, its punishment is of the same type, you fail the class. It's not like you didn't study for the class and then somebody comes and slaps you, because these are of different types, right? There's no relationship between slapping and you not studying. But if the outcome is, the crime is not studying and the outcome is failing the class, we consider them to be related. So let's call it some organic relationship. So in the case of our life, if I, let's say, don't do the prayer, the author says you're going to live in a hell. What sort of a hell? The hell is the exact opposite of what was counted above. Like your grave is going to be dark for you. There's not going to be an afterlife for you. The bridge, Sirat, is going to be super tough for you to pass. And we talked about their metaphorical meaning as well, like passing through a bridge, it's being a super quick pass versus a super long journey. So if you don't do that prayer, then your life is going to become meaningless. Reading it from reverse, prayer is what makes your life meaningful and joyful. And then lack of prayer comes with its organic outcome or punishment, which becomes a dark future, a purposeless life, nothing beyond grave, no meaning in life, in existence, which is hell, which is this boredom. And it's very beautiful. In general, Creator puts reward right inside things and puts punishment right inside things. Even if it is not at the moment, let's say you do some injustice to someone. It's among everybody, I mock Birkan, let's say. And then everybody laughs and then I win. Something like this. So, but we will see that this behavior is hurting, looking at it from like psychology point of view, hurting my psychology. I become a unpleasant person more and more. And eventually I'm going to be hated by the people as well. So I'm going to become this mean person. Like, since I am making fun of people, once I win, twice I win. Now everybody is saying that, oh, he's funny. But as I increase doing this, I'm going to become that mean person. And I will start just getting the opposite of what I used to do. I will become the hated person. So sooner or later, the creator is putting the punishment of the thing within itself. This is why they say, al jaza'u min jinsil amal. So the reward or the punishment, however you would like to take jaza, is of type of the action itself. This is really how the creation is taking place. So this is why seeing Jannah and Jahannam, paradise and hell in here is also possible. So Quran is describing me, what I'm going through. So it's not an external, unrelated hell or punishment.
Jazakallah khair. I think the fourth warning is finished. Inshallah, we'll continue with the fifth warning in the next week. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.